An Epergne is a form that basically is a super centerpiece. It functions as the focal point of the table, and it also held special foods. So it was a combination, really, centerpiece and in some respects, sort of like a lazy Susan. The presence of an Epergne on a dining table immediately told you that you were in a very elite, wealthy household where the focus of the meal was not only the food and the company, but a very obvious awareness of the wealth and status of the household that you were in. This particular Epergne by George Wicks was made for a very ambitious and very successful Irish lord. The engraving actually in this case is an important feature of the piece, especially on the center of the plateau, or the stand that supports the Epergne. It's an enormous rendering of Joseph Leeson's coat of arms. And it's interesting because at the time that he ordered this, he was a lord, but he had not been elevated to the peerage. He was not yet an earl. There's a large crown at the top of his coat of arms, but that's an element that was added about 1768 when he was actually elevated to that status in the aristocracy. And it is a stunning example of political and social ambition writ on a silver scale. It is of enormous size, tremendous weight, and weight mattered in the sense that the silver was charged by weight as well as by the skill in making it. It's in that robust sort of phase of the Rococo style where there are still elements of the Baroque. I think that's especially obvious in the plateau or tray that sits underneath the Epergne. It's very architectural in form, and yet there are these somewhat whimsical or playful images throughout the piece. If you look at the feet on the Epergne, they're actually very toothy dolphins kind of grimacing up at you. And on the central basket or dish, the main dish of the Epergne, there are 4 faces that represent the 4 seasons. Spring, of course, is a beautiful, lovely young woman. Summer, a young man in his prime with all of the rich fruits and vegetables of the season. Fall is a woman reflecting the harvest period with wheat. And winter is depicted as an older man with a long and slightly shaggy-looking beard. Epergnes were traditionally dressed out with foods that were served as part of the dessert course. Typically there'd be fresh seasonal fruits in the baskets, and then smaller hanging baskets or dishes would be used to hold things like nuts, usually in the shell, or what were called sweetmeats, and that would be nuts or small fruits that had been dried and preserved and often rolled in sugar so that they would be very special, expensive delicacies. The term Epergne, the word itself, derives from the French term to save or to facilitate. And the Epergne really was a reflection of French dining, or dining à la Française, in which all of the food would be placed on the table well before the guests were seated. I honestly don't think people ate a hot meal at a formal dinner in the 18th century. The elaborate arms and baskets and branches made it easier to access the foods that were there. The Wicks Epergne, made for Joseph Leeson, is an extraordinary example of an early and very architecturally complex Epergne. Very few examples survive today with plateaus, and the level of complexity that's seen in this particular Epergne is something I've never encountered before. It's quite unusual.